remember Tampa, the way she used to be, the places we would run to, the faces we would see. Yes, I remember Tampa, those precious memories. A city rising on the move, a simple yet progressive groove. I remember Tampa, and she remembers me. Yeah. She remembers me.
Welcome to the Tampa Native Show. Stay tuned now for the fastest 60 minutes in cable broadcast history. Live from the studios at TBCN, the home of the Tampa Native Show. Join your hosts, Mario Nunez, the 15-Minute Girl, and Steve Canella, as they celebrate growing up in Tampa. From Shock Armstrong to Shakey's Pizza, from Braddock Street to Buffalo Avenue. Get ready to call in and tell us your stories, because sharing your memories has never been this much fun. And now, Mario Nunez, the 15-Minute Girl, and Steve Canella.
She remembers me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to this, the Tampa Native Show. You know, if it's Thursday night and it's 7 o'clock and you're by your TV, it's the Tampa Native Show. My name is Mario Nunez. I'm seated alongside my broadcast partner,
Steve Canella,
a.k.a. Tampa Steve, and right next to me,
Sally Nunez,
our 15-Minute Girl. And tonight you're in for a special treat. We had an opportunity for the last hour to sit and sort of pre-interview Charlie Miranda, our city council chairman, and he's got some magnificent stories. If you thought Jack Espinosa had stories last week, Charlie's going to give Jack a run for his money. As we do here on the show every week, we get through a little bit of our PSAs, our public service announcements, and our house cleaning, housekeeping, and our promoting. We're going to do that now. But let me just say, as a point of interest, for those of you that are just joining us this week for the first time, you know, this show here that we do each and every week live is the only show of its kind anywhere. In Tampa, certainly, in the U.S., and an argument can be made anywhere in the world. It's dedicated to the memory of our forefathers and the history of our wonderful city and growing up here in this place that we know and love as Tampa. So we're so pleased that you're there with us this evening. We've got a great show, another fast-paced hour, and we're going to start without further ado. Let me welcome back our fans, our new viewers, and again remind you that just how unique we are here at the Tampa Native Show. You know, yesterday we had 3 birthdays on the very same day. 3 great fans of the Tampa Native Show, and I would be remiss, Steve, if I didn't mention their names. It's Mike Big Pumpkin Pedrinin in Orlando. We love you, Mike. We know you're out there watching. Rosemary Durant, who watches us each and every week, had a birthday yesterday, and also sharing a birthday, a classmate of mine, Jefferson High School class of '76, Kathy Hero Acosta, and her husband, of course, is Rick Acosta, one of Tampa's finest firefighters down there at Station 3. He's at home tonight watching us. He and Ronnie Martinez always watch us when they're in Firehouse together. So happy birthday to all of those, to Kathy, to Rosemary, and to Mike. We love you guys, and thank you for being some of our biggest fans and watching us each and every week.
Absolutely.
We want to remind everybody that this coming Saturday night, the 15-Minute Girl, Tampa Steve, and myself will be riding in the Gasparilla Night Parade, a first for us, sponsored by the crew of Santiago, and we'd like to say thank you to Simon Canassi and to Jamie Lawrence for helping us get that done. Also, a big shout out to Angelo Ramori for providing the transportation for us. I'll digress for a real quick second, and I'll go to my, well, stay with me, guys. Stay with me. This is a lot of fun. If you see this, if you happen to see this guy at the parade this coming weekend.
Run for your life.
Run for your life, as my 15-Minute Girl would have you know. But at the same time, wave to us, and we'll throw you a bead.
Oh, and also,
I'll be wearing this.
Only one bead, though.
Yeah, just one. Go ahead, Stevie.
and we'll have Eric bring up picture number 1. Let's bring that up. 1, 2, and 3, actually.
At this time, I'd like to say a special hello and shout out to the ladies at Buccaneer Beads, Jennifer Huyanillo. I love that name. It's kind of Hawaiian sounding, very much so. And her mom, Lenore Amato, as they provided us with these wonderful accoutrements, our beads and our accessories and our hats and our glasses that flash and blink. And thank you so much. If you have any needs for beads, I like that. Not needs for speed, Stevie. I'll give myself a bell ring on that one. If you have a need for beads, there's no place else to go but Buccaneer Beads out there on well, we'll call it Buffalo Avenue,
Yeah.
MLK and 40th Street. Thank you, ladies, so much for providing us with these wonderful
It's gonna be
accessories.
fun. Thank
It's going to be a great deal of fun, and we can't wait to be riding in the parade. You
We'll
know,
be
we
busy.
grew up here in Tampa, Steve, all those years, and this will be our first experience, not just participating in the
night parade.
parade, but actually riding in it.
And
So that's going
throwing
to be a
beads
lot of
out to
fun.
everybody. Can't wait.
A special shout out to a colleague of mine who doesn't believe that I have a TV show, and I'm proving that point tonight. Hola, Lilian Vallecillan. She's one of American Airlines flight attendants, and we just came in this morning together from Santiago de Chile, and I wanted to say hello to her. Erica Bowman, well, she's the sweetest lady we know who's in the banking business, let's put it that way. She works down at the Bank of America down in our neighborhood, and this morning she was there to greet me with the rest of the team, and I just wanted to say hello to her as well. Erica Bowman, Bank of America, Gun Highway, Citrus Park. Hi, ladies. Thanks for watching. Oh, my goodness. Stevie?
Where do the weeks go?
Yeah, let me not forget. We got a couple of more items here. How about that holistic health healing? You got that flyer on there? Is that flyer up there?
That's
You have
not
that?
on here. No, we don't have that. We'll have to.
You
No.
sure you don't have that? The
I'm
Valentine's Day special? Because I'm going to tell everybody about it. I know
You know
you've got it,
what?
IT staff.
The IT, I think the IT department maybe
The
got
IT
the ball on that.
department
I
may
think
have
they
gone to
did.
sleep
Wow.
on us for
Wow.
just a minute.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Let me just
We'll show
say,
it next week for sure,
on
though.
behalf of Russell Fox and on behalf of John Testa and the Holistic Health Haven, easy for me to say, 400 East Palm Avenue, thank you guys for everything that you do to keep us healthy and happy. That's massage, that's reflexology,
Facials.
that's facials, that's acupuncture, everything that's healthful and holistic and healing, right there, 400 East Palm Avenue. They're having a Valentine's special. Get over there, take advantage of that. It's a couples massage, there's facials. We had the flyer, and of course our ID department fell asleep, but we'll be promoting that all month.
You know what?
So
Tonight-
we'll bring that in next week, or actually you can see it because it's on our website. It's
It
on our
is.
Facebook page,
It
and it's on
is.
our website as well. I
Yes.
just wanted to mention that in
And
case
tonight,
you guys.
right after
They're
the show,
great deals. too.
right after the show tonight, I'm going to call the IT department and get on them for
You
that.
better
Get
get
on
on
him.
him,
I
big
will.
guy. You better get on him. Couple of more things before we get to
This
our
isn't
esteemed
not
guest
acceptable.
this evening. Don't forget Mother's Day this year, Mother's Day celebration, May 12th. It's not too early to start talking about moms and celebrating all things good about our moms. Sunday, May the 12th, the Rays versus the Padres. We're going to be in a private suite. We're going to ask Charlie Miranda to join us if he's not doing anything else more important. It's going to be a catered event. First 60 people are in. We've got room for 60 people. And, you know, just today, the St. Petersburg City Council, you know, in their infinite wisdom, decided to vote down a motion to allow Rays ownership to discuss the potential of finding a new home in the Bay Area, particularly on this side of the Bay, with the constituents of the neighborhoods.
Very
and they've
disturbing.
voted that down. What does that mean to us? It means to us something very important, that if we're not careful, we're liable to lose our, that valued property that is the Tampa Bay Rays. The wonderful manager, Joe Madden, that young,
Fun
energetic,
team,
and
yeah.
fun team to watch, we're liable to lose them. And the St. Petersburg City Council is just messing around long enough where the management from the Rays are probably going to get frustrated and eventually take the team out of the area. So join us. That wasn't a sad story. It was supposed to be a happy story. Join us on May the 12th. We're going to be there, 60 of us strong, in a private suite with a catered event. You can find that also on our Facebook page. One more.
Got any more breath left?
Yes.
I know,
Firefallbenefit.com.
Yeah.
We have that graphic. I'll ask Eric to put that up
Yep.
there now. Eric Cups are, and
Picture
that's
number
another
4.
story. Eric Cups just drove in, by the way, from Bradenton, breakneck pace, up
Yeah.
75, jumped into the seat.
1 minute before.
Jumped into the seat as the opening credits were rolling.
As
That's
only
how
he
much.
can do.
That's how much he loves our show, and that's how much he wanted to be here to
Yeah.
share with you. That said, I digress. If I don't tell you who set this up tonight, who white balanced the cameras, who checked our microphones, who made sure that we're looking as good as we look, that's subjective, isn't it?
Yes.
Erica Hudnell.
Absolutely.
Erica, we love you. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you,
standing
Erica.
in for Eric Cups, who was en route from Bradenton, because he's got a day job
Takes
after
lots
all.
of hands to put the Tampa Native
Firefallbenefit.com, firefallbenefit.com. Sandy Ficca, drummer for Firefall, that wonderful group from the 1970s,
Yeah.
and his brother John are going to be putting on a benefit. That's next week. We're going to be there. We encourage everybody that would like
Great
to come hear some
music.
amazing music and participate in a good event for a good cause. Join us. Firefallbenefit.com. One last note, and then we'll get to Charlie. And this is a little bit of a sad note. This week, we just learned, as a matter of fact, Johnny Sinchett, who is one of Tampa Native's show's brothers in arms and provides us with a lot of the information that we use each and every week, certainly some of the images that we show here. Johnny lost his aunt recently, and we want to say send out our condolences and tell Johnny that we share his loss. His Aunt Maria Sinchette Blunt was 81 years old, and Johnny was telling me today that she was his favorite aunt. Interesting story. When his grandfather came to Tampa in 1947 to start Sinchette's neon signage business, they literally lived in the back of the signage shop as a means of saving money. And Johnny's father and Johnny's aunt, who he lost here recently, were best pals, brother and sister, but also best pals. So hence, Johnny was also her favorite nephew. Now, she went on to have 8 children. Wow. Of those 8 children, 2 of them became ordained priests. They will be presiding over her funeral here on Monday. Wow. And
that's a wonderful thing.
Here's the part that gives me goosebumps. She's being laid to rest on the very same day that her favorite brother was some years ago. So, wow. You know, as things work out. But we just want to say, Johnny, we love you.
Our condolences.
And we're thinking about you today. And we can't wait to see you, to give you a great big hug. Gosh, that was a lot to do at the beginning of the show. How did I do?
Good.
Took 10 minutes of the show. Yeah. With apologies to our guest who's been patiently sitting there grinning. He's grinning at me right now. Bring up the 4-shot, if you will, Eric, and let me introduce our esteemed friend and Tampa native and 6-time, Stevie, you said? 6-time?
6-term.
6-term city council representative and the honorable chairman of that said city. There he is.
Welcome.
Charlie Miranda, everybody.
Welcome,
Hi, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Appreciate being with you 3.
Thank you for indulging us in those opening comments. Charlie, you know, we were talking before we got started here today. And let me say, for our fans out there that are watching, that are accustomed to making our phones ring tonight, because Charlie is such a special guest. And Charlie has so much to offer, much like last week when Jack was here, Jack Espinosa. We're going to not take phone calls tonight, but Steve has got his laptop open, so any questions that you might have, any special comments or stories that you want to share with us, your Bolita numbers, thank you, 15-minute girl, please send them to show@tampanatives.com, show@tampanatives.com. We'll get those on the Bolita recorded, Bolita drawing. Charlie will be drawing that number later on. He doesn't know anything about the Bolita drawing yet. And we'll get your questions to him as well. Back to our conversation with Charlie. Charlie, what can you tell us about Charlie Miranda that people might not know?
Well, you just said the word Bolita. Not that I invented it, but in Ybor City, we invented Bolita as a useful economic tool when I was growing up, and the government took it over and called it the lottery.
There you go.
So you see, they made big bucks on something that was very, very common in Ybor City.
Sure.
And when you look at items now like HMOs, we started that long time ago, the same thing under mutual societies.
Sure.
So all these things are part of the history which I remember growing up in Ybor City, and it was a wonderful place to live. A lot of people don't know that I trained racehorses for some time, and I was a breeder with 2 of my dear friends, Arthur Pedregal and Mike Sierra, and the 3 of us were somewhat successful. When I had hair, I was at the barber shop, and I also had paints and quarter horses, and Arthur had show horses also, and we decided to put $1,000 apiece, the 3 of us, and go buy a racehorse. Oh, none of us have ever owned a racehorse, so we went to the auction in Ocala, and things were going a little different. From $3 grand, they were going 18, 20, 25, 30, 35,000, 20,000. So I couldn't take that. I said, I got $3,000 to spend, and I can't buy a hoof. So we went out to the back and had a Coca-Cola, and I came back in. I said, let's sit up front, and we're going to buy the next horse through. Well, they thought I was nuts, but we bought the next horse through on an opening bid, meaning that no one else bid on that horse. The opening bid was $2,700. We bid $2,700, and we got the horse. I didn't know if she was a bay, a gray, a chestnut, a gelding, a stallion, or a filly. I didn't know anything. We just bought that horse. It turned out to be a very good investment for us. She was a wonderful horse. Her name was Abel Maid. And if most of us that have seen the movie Secretariat, Abel Maid was the first horse to defeat Secretariat's 2 firstborn foes. The first one that she defeated was named Messina, and the second horse she defeated was named Fable the Able, and both of them happened at Calder Racetrack in Miami. So we followed that Secretariat story very well. We bought this horse for almost nothing, you could say, and She was very kind to us, and she earned enough money to keep not only her keep, but we made a little money on the side.
Well, you know, we were talking about it a little bit before we came on the air with Charlie, and I mentioned to him, you know, that's a fascinating, not only is the story intriguing and fascinating, but something about horses that the 15-minute girl and myself, Steve and I have talked about it as well. I don't know what it is. They're magnificent animals. They're large and can be rather intimidating if you're not raised around them. But when you see movies like Secretariat or Seabiscuit, the Steven Spielberg epic recent War Horse,
Or Hidalgo.
Hidalgo, which is one of Steve's
My
favorite, the documentary on the wonderful horse Barbaro, or you remember the story of 8 Bells, who lost to Big Brown, although she gave everything she had, literally gave everything she had, and broke down there at the finish and had to be put down on the track in 2008. There's something about horses that's magical. And as for me personally, maybe you out there that are watching and listening tonight feel the same way. But Charlie, you were raised around them when you were little, so it was a natural environment for you to be around. And you still have an association and affiliation with Tampa Bay Downs, correct?
Yes, I worked there. I judged horse racing as one of 3 stewards. I worked for the state. The other 2 stewards, the other 2 gentlemen worked for the racetrack.
What we find fascinating here on the Tampa Native Show panel is, you know Charlie Miranda. You've heard stories of Charlie Miranda as growing up, whether it was his business acumen, whether it was you played softball against my brothers when they played on the Rogues and you played on Colonial Barbershop in the early 70s, my brother's first foray into men's fast pitch softball here. We know Charlie played on that little league team that went to Cuba. We know that he has done many, many things. The city council, certainly among the most, is public service. But this horse thing has got me intrigued. So we talked before the show. We said, okay, we won't let the horse talk, the horse trader talk dominate the show tonight. We'll bring you back to do a show exclusively on that, maybe as we get closer to the Run for the Roses in May. Because I don't think, and Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
fact, let me stop you. A lot of people don't understand, realize how many of us in Tampa are involved in the horse business. The rider of the horse Tree Bird that won the Breeders' Cup, which was $1.5 million race in November, resides in Tampa.
Really?
His mother resides here. His name is Willie Martinez.
Wow.
And he's riding at the Downs now, getting ready to go to his summer home.
Wow.
But these are the things that no one really understands.
Just completely under the wire.
We go under the wire and unnoticed.
And again,
It's great,
without,
fun information.
without trying to dominate the conversation tonight in horse talk, but I find it fascinating.
I do
Forgive me,
too.
and I'm one of the hosts, so I'm going to take license. You know, I've said it before, Charlie, that pound for pound, I think that the athlete that has the most verve and the most, as we would say in the old neighborhood, couillons, are the jockeys who at 106 pounds strap themselves atop another magnificent athlete at 2,400 pounds, breaking out at 45 miles an hour. I mean, to me, I don't know what that must feel like, but recently, 15-minute girl, and I say recently, it's been a couple of seasons, which I would give anything to be at the track with you, Charlie, so you could give us an education on what is
That would
really
be
going
fun.
on.
I can go for
Maybe
that.
even go back and see the paddock and take some footage and see what the jock room looks like. You know, just to get a feel for that,
That'd be
because
great.
again, I love all that, and I don't know where this comes from because I was not raised around those animals. You mentioned Mike Sierra, my mother, of course, knowing Mike when Mike had horses. I remember going to Ybor City, and at one time, I was little, maybe 8, 9, 10, maybe 10. We went to Mike's house, and Mike was going to put me on the back of one of his horses. I said, there's not a chance in hell of that happening because I'm too little. But he did attach a little wagon to the horse, and then he took us around for a little, little ride, which was, and I still remember it to this day. Mom, if you're out there, I know you remember it as well. You took me over to see the horse. But, you know, when you're, to this day, when you hear the call, when they turn the corner for home, and you hear, and if the announcer's doing his thing the way he should be doing his thing, and he gives you that, and down the stretch they come, the hair on the back of your neck just stands up.
Well, not in my case.
You still get that, isn't that
Yeah,
exciting?
you get that feeling, especially when you're the breeder and the trainer and the owner of a horse.
The money.
It's very invigorating. There's a lot of things in life that can't match up to it, I'll be honest with you. And horse racing is still very popular and doing quite well here at Tampa Bay Downs.
Sport of kings, right?
It is.
And at one point in our history in the United States, there was baseball, there was boxing, and there was horse racing.
Horse racing.
So, you know, magical. Thanks for sharing that,
You
Charlie.
have
Do
an
you have
invite,
another
the three of you are invited, and I'll give you a tour of
That'd be
whatever.
Oh,
That'd be
Charlie.
awesome.
There you
Yeah.
go. There's Charlie's
I would
first bell
enjoy that.
ring.
That'd be great. Now, Charlie, this show's very interactive, although we're not taking the calls tonight, but the emails are coming in hot and heavy. So if we can, some of our fans would like to ask you a couple questions through email.
Please, Steve.
Great.
And,
Sure.
let's go ahead and get these comments because we're going to back up on these here a little bit. This is from Rose Durant, by the way. Thank you for the wonderful birthday wishes. Here's our numbers. Debbie, number 17. Rose, new number, new year is 53. She won on that, I think, a couple weeks ago.
She did. She sure did.
53.
Debbie's out of the country for a month. Please think of her in your prayers and for safe travels. Love you guys.
We
Rose Durant.
will. Thanks,
Debbie's in the Middle
Rose.
East, we think.
And we also have one from Joe Abini.
Mm-hmm.
He writes, Mario, Sally, Steve, have a great show. Unable to be in attendance, but will be there in spirit. Talk with Charlie about baseball and a trip to Cuba, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Sure.
For sure. Believe numbers, Sally has those already. 15-minute girl.
Who's
And,
that?
7 and 3.
Oh,
Joe
yeah,
Keith.
no, I
Joe
wrote
Keith.
those
Yeah, you got
down.
those, okay.
What was Rosemary's new number?
Rose, 53.
53.
53, okay.
Now, Ronald Martinez, you mentioned him too.
Ron Martinez.
Number 16, hey, Mario, love the show. We watch every Thursday, and when Rick and me are on duty, keep up the great work. We are always spreading the word.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
And thank you, Rick, both.
And a
Thanks for watching.
interesting one from Marilyn Messina. Do you know Marilyn Messina, by the way?
Yes.
Sabata Masip.
Joe-
See, if I see her,
George
I see her,
Sons.
I know.
Joe and Sons Oil.
Okay.
Mhm.
She writes, hi, Charlie. Good to see you up and about. You're a Tampa icon as well as a Tampa native. What people probably don't know about Charlie is that he was a heck of a dancer back when we were going to the Rockers dances, the Lennox Center, and the Letter Carriers Hall.
There you go.
Won't brag about this, but he was. My believed number is 41, and Anthony's is number
41.
7.
The guy who was much better than I was
Oh,
was Dickie
seven's
Garcia,
taken.
but I could jitterbug and with the rest of them.
There you go. That's wonderful. Thank you, Marilyn, for sharing that insight.
Nice
we're
little
learning
fun-
a lot of great things tonight
Great little
about
fun
our
fact.
city council chairman that we will not divulge.
Oh, and I have a question too, Charlie.
Yep.
Now, this is one of my favorite all-time restaurants. I've been there so many times. I love the trout a la rusa. But I read your resume online, and you were involved at some point with Cafe Pepe on Kennedy, right?
Correct.
Oh, my favorite restaurant.
I was fortunate the 5 partners asked me to become a partner with them some time back, and we had a great run there with them for about 12 years. And in essence, I left the restaurant because my kids were going into college and I needed to make more money, so I went to training racehorses and judging racehorses, and that's why I left. But they sold the restaurant years later, and now it's where I believe the American Cancer Society is on Melville and Kennedy.
I love that
Yeah,
restaurant. What a landmark.
Those were great times.
It was,
Yeah, that
it was.
restaurant.
Many memories
I
there.
remember that.
And on
vividly.
Friday and Saturday nights, good luck
Yeah.
getting in there if
Oh,
you
I
didn't
know.
get in there
Gotta
early.
wait.
Yeah.
Any more questions, Stevie, so far?
Well, no, I was just going to make a quick comment, though. I don't know
Sure.
if it's a question, but maybe
Please.
Charlie can expand on it a little bit. But just wanted to let you know that we're proud to have you. I mean, you've shown a remarkable dedication and commitment to the people of Tampa, and especially with the regards to the welfare of young and senior citizens. And just want to say that says a lot about you, and we certainly are appreciative of that. So.
And proud of you.
Tampa to
Thank
the
you.
core, right, Charlie?
Thank you very
Tampa
much.
to the core.
Yeah.
And proud to be from Tampa.
I'm proud to be from Tampa, and a lot of times I get asked, where did I go to high school at? And I tell them I never went to high school. And they said, what? I said, no, I went to Jefferson.
There you go. Look at that. We're off and
That,
running tonight. You just made everybody that went to Jefferson stand up and salute, I'm telling you.
That was a great part of all of our lives.
Sure.
And so many great people went there. Some of the sports people that I remember the best was like Rick Caceres.
Oh.
When you talk about Rick and the things that he did in pro ball and how talented he was in all the sports, he was a natural. He was the first natural that I could ever remember. The guy was great in football, baseball, track, basketball. He just had it all. He was a wonderful human being.
That's an amazing segue. We're so grateful that you raised the name and the specter of Rick Caceres, because we know he's out there and ailing a little bit, and we've been trying to get him to come in and do the show, and hopefully we've got our fingers crossed that maybe he'll rally and see his way to come on our set and let us record his story, albeit a little piece of it, because you know this hour flies by. But
Yes.
Rick is an icon. We have Al Lopez to thank for putting us on the map regards to baseball, and of course Rick Caceres did that for us with football. Also, people don't know, but he was a Gold Glove boxer and could have probably been a world champion, an amazing track athlete, and had a full ride scholarship to the University of Kentucky to play basketball. Was there anything this man couldn't do? He hung
It
out with Nat King Cole. I mean, he was cool, Daddy-O, when you know, in the days when when cool meant something, let's put it that way, back in the 50s. Certainly broke into the NFL in 1955. Perhaps had the misfortune of playing for Papa Bear, who was a tough and stern taskmaster. But in spite of that, Rick still led the league for 5 years consecutive, was elected to 5 consecutive Pro Bowls. And when you consider he was 6'3", 220 pounds, bigger than anybody else on the field and faster than anybody else, what a joy it must have been to watch him play. Of course, he was before my time, so I didn't get a chance to see him play, but I have seen some clips, and it's amazingly impressive. Thanks for bringing that name up, Charlie, because we're hopeful. So if there's anybody out there that has a good line and can get us to Rick Caceres, we would really... Born on the 4th of July. Is that a great story?
Oh, wow.
Is that a great story? Born 1931, 4th of July. So I'm just saying, Jack Espinosa is a dear friend of his as well. So get well, Rick, and we hope that we can have you on the show.
Charlie, I was going to ask you this as well. You're from Ybor City, growing up in Ybor City. What would be one of your, if you could think, one of your favorite memories of growing up in that era and in your neighborhood?
You know, growing up in Ybor City reminds me of today's Cuba. When I travel to Cuba to make the arrangements for the team and see some of the relatives, it's I feel like I'm 9, 10 years old again, because you get that era feeling of people walking in the streets, people helping each other do something in need of something that has to be given out from one neighbor to another. It's not coincidental. It's by design. They all want to help each other out. And Ybor City was just that way. It was a great place to be, had the opportunity to be raised in. It gave me the foundation that I needed for the future to think like I do. Maybe I think a little differently, because when I sit on that council seat, I always remember where I come from. That's number one. And number two, I remember everyone who's no longer here who helped me get where I'm at. And those are very important to me. And those are the people who were very sincere, very hardworking. They all carried their lunch to the cigar factories. They all did. Some were educators. Some became doctors, very famous doctors. Some became lawyers, very famous lawyers. And we had engineers. We had all the gamut came at that time that I can remember from Ybor City. Most of us live in substandard housing. I lived in the housing projects, and I was happy to be there. It was warm in the winter and cool in the summer, and I had solar hot water, so I thought I lived in a condominium. But, you know, I didn't know any better. I thought everybody lived the same way I did, until I realized there was another side to the other side of the fence.
Wow, great
story.
Yeah, great memory. In fact, it's a little different now, though, isn't it?
It is, and it's times don't change, people do.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't look at times as an excuse. I look at the parenting or lack of parenting, that we had lots of parenting.
And your neighbors helped
And the
out with that.
neighbors,
Yeah.
and the
To the
aunts,
village.
and the uncles, and everybody. And they taught us the right way. They did what they had to do to raise us, and they were strict, but you know what? They succeeded in all of us.
Yeah.
Last week we had Jack Espinosa with us, and he raised, and by the way, Steve, spoiler alert, I think you just found your highlight.
That's a highlight for the
I
show.
think you just found your highlight. Every week we try to pick a segment from the show that we can snip out of the show to make a compilation of highlights for each season. And I think you just gave us ours for this week. Last week we had Jack on with us, and Jack gave us another highlight that kind of buttresses what Charlie is saying, that, you know, Ybor City was a special place, and it was the dynamic at play back in those days, as he explained it, was, you know, not everybody got along in the early days. Like when the first descendants got here, it was a hard scrabble, and people were just scratching to try to make their livelihoods. But it was his generation, Jack's generation, and arguably yours too. You're a little bit younger than Jack, but arguably you guys that helped bridge the gap between the first people that got here, that were just battling against each other to make it, and then us, the third generation, because you guys all went to school together. So you got to know each other, and you realize, well, there's no difference between necessarily the Sicilians and the Cubans and the Spaniards. We're all the same. And then, you know, it's comforting.
I'm sure Jack touched on, if you were a Cuban, you couldn't marry an Italian.
Oh, he
Yes.
did.
If you were from Asturias, you couldn't marry somebody from
Absolutely.
the other part of Spain. And all those things we lived through. I mean, it was a little different,
Yep.
but I think the thoughtfulness of the people, they didn't think of themselves. They thought of their whole family and the whole neighborhood. It was just one. The whole thing was one. And it was a wonderful place to have the opportunity to be born into.
Sounds like it.
Recently,
Sounds like a great
recently,
place.
Steve had the opportunity to go into the Italian club, and while we were there, making a pitch to the Italian club for some help with some funding and some sponsorship funding, there was a big quadro, a big picture frame on the wall. And I walked over to it and I looked at it, and I'm reading all the names on the frame, and I read this one name in it. And I told him, I said, "Hey, Stevie, come over here. Look at this guy. He's got his great-grandfather's eyes." It was his great-grandfather,
Yes, Giorgio Canella.
who was an original founding member of the board of directors of the Italian club.
Well, now that you mentioned those clubs, look at them, the Italian club, the Cuban club, Centro Turiano, Centro Pagnol. Who built that? It was no grants. It was the immigrants themselves
Yeah.
that wanted to have a social, it was a social gathering. It was for informational purposes. It was for dances. It was for weddings. It was for everything.
Cradle to grave.
And each one had that. And you couldn't be treated any better by being a member of one of the clubs. Now you have isolation everywhere
Yeah.
because now you got computers, you got this, that, and the other, texting.
Head down, everybody's right here.
There's no
Before, you wanted information, you had to go to the social club.
Yeah. Right.
It was hardly, there was no TVs during that time.
Right.
I mean, I didn't have a TV till I was about 17. And you know, a private phone and cell phones, those things didn't exist. We had a 4-party line. Matilda, me toca a mí, quieta, hace 20 minutos que estás en el teléfono. You know, that kind of stuff. So I remember all those things, and that's what, it's a fascination of the changes in life that Jack and I and others, many of us, witnessed.
Yeah.
Like the Rockers, most of those guys
Wow.
are from Ybor City.
Of course.
And we were in high school and they had a top 5 hit. But all those things are just part of life, and that people that we grew up with were just nice people.
We're going to have in...
You were lucky.
It, very much so.
You
very
really
much.
were.
And we were too. We caught the very tail
Yeah.
end of that.
Yeah.
We did. And we don't take that for granted. We understand each and every week when we sit down here to do our show, we're in a race against the clock to try to capture all of these stories and the magic that goes with them, because let's face it, once we go, these stories tend to disappear. And this, you know, the new people that are getting here now, that have been here for 5, 6 years, 10 years maybe, they don't know the stories that Charlie's describing to you now and what you heard last week from Jack. These things are vital to our history, and it's the thread that keeps it all together. When Steve started the Facebook group Tampa Natives, just to see how many grandsons and great-grandsons of those original settlers that came to Ybor City that helped grow the cigar industry were still around, and it grew to a 6,000-member phenomenon in a short period of time, we realized there was still a great number of us that pined for the old days, to talk about those old times. So that's what created the show.
Yeah.
And now it's gone from more than just an opportunity for us to get together and smile and laugh and remember Shakey's Pizza, or remember the High Life Frontown or the Dale Mabry Drive-In, to preserving a vital part of our history. The guy sitting to our right over here is one of those stalwarts and keepers of the stories. Let me see if I've got another question here. I've got a question here. And for whatever reason, other than the fact that we love him and he's a great entertainer to have with us last week, Jack Espinosa inspired this question. And we may just ask this of our esteemed guests going forward. Here it is. When you were a kid, what did you want to be, Charlie?
I'm still a kid.
Oh, wait a minute.
Best answer.
Amen to that, my brother. Did you have dreams of being a pelotero? We noticed that you have a baseball.
Well,
there.
I brought you guys a baseball to give to you because this is the 54 Cascaden Park team.
Oh, wow.
These are the guys that went to Cuba. I couldn't make the trip, and this is the
You
last
were ill at the
ball
time, and-
that they signed. And
Oh, Charlie.
if I may touch on this for a minute.
Please.
In 54, that championship team went, and we were 12 scrappy little kids. And when we got there, we met the Cuban. They treated us royally, semicools. Tony LaRusso and I were the co-captains because we spoke, I guess, a little bit better Spanish. And we played. And then the coach comes to me and tells me, listen, we got a problem. And every time the coach would tell me we got a problem, it was my problem. And I said, what is it? He said, Cuba wants to play 5 games instead of 4, and we don't have enough pitchers. So I almost didn't make the team. I was the last guy accepted into that all-star team. And it really, it's a cute story because he tells me, you know, so-and-so offered me half a cow to take his son and leave you. And I said, well, I guess I'm here. So he said, but I got to tell you why. As a good businessman, I went to look at the cow, And the reason you're on the trip, it was a real skinny cow. So I got on that trip, and the guys, I can name them all if you got a second.
Sure,
Frank
please
Rimwe
do.
from
Yeah.
Gaither
Sure.
coaching staff was first baseman.
Frank Rimwe.
Second baseman was Jose Alonso, great hands. The shortstop was Tony La Russa, the most famous of all of us.
Sure.
And the third base was Bucky De La Torre and Paul Ferlita. Charlie Miranda was left field, John Palmieri at center, Robert Diaz and right, and Billy Vargas was the starting catcher. We also had some guys that could really more likely outplay us, Eloy Perez and Richard Stark and others. But there was one guy that I'm going to tell you his name in a second here that was the 10th player on the squad and started every game. And you're going to say, what did he say? They only play with 9 players. How can the 10th guy always play? It's very simple, because the 3 starting pitchers were the 3 starting outfielders. So when one of us went into pitch, he came and played left field, center field, or right field. And his name was Manuel Balserio. And it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years ago that somebody told me his name. I played with him for many years, and I only knew him as Cañita. Everybody had nicknames, so we just called each other by nicknames. Nobody, and that's how it was.
That's funny.
But it was a great fun to be with those guys. We played Cuba 5 games, and we lost 3 and won 2. The irony of that is that in the 5th game, we had saved Robert Diaz to throw. He could really, really fire the ball. And Tony's calling me from left field that the coach wanted to see me in the 5th game. And I'm walking in, he tells me, you're going to be surprised. All I got was a ball put in my hand and said, do the best you can. Oh. And I said, what does it matter? And he said, look, the fella got sick on the mound and threw up.
Oh,
so you're going to have to pitch the game.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And when you're a pitcher, you never look at the dugout. You never look at the
Sure.
hitter. You just look at the catcher and throw.
We had
Well, I so
pictures.
happened to look up, and when I saw that first batter, I said, what's this guy doing with a mustache and a beard? and that's a true story. You can ask the rest of the 11 guys. And it was downhill from there. The first guy up on a 2-strike, no-ball pitch, I made a mistake, and I put that ball a little further in than I wanted to, and they're still looking for it. He hit it straight over the center field wall, and they scored 4 runs in the first inning, and we lost 42. But it was a great, exciting thing for me to be with those guys and that team. Mm-hmm. These guys came back, and they most of them went, as you well know, in November of 11.
Yes.
I couldn't go because of 2 surgeries.
Yes.
And now at the end of 58 years, we played 10 games. Cuba has won 5, and Tampa has won 5.
That's great.
So we still haven't settled the score.
It's still,
So what I'm telling
great.
you is that it's amazing that
Yeah.
58 years later,
Isn't that something?
it's still tied,
Yes.
5 to
Yes.
5.
That's
What
an
a
They
great
did
story.
beat Cuba 3-2 this time, and
Yeah.
I'm very proud of all the guys that went.
that's,
And
That's
forevermore,
fantastic.
I think our cities will be linked,
Yeah.
not only intrinsically because of our history, but at one time we were sister cities.
Well, Cuba's got a lot of Tampa-style things, and Tampa's got a lot of Cuba. You know, when the Tampa Smokers were around, and the Sugar Hurricanes, and those teams, and Miami Sun Sox, the Miami Beach Flamingos, and all those were together, there was a rivalry there that could never be broken. Tampa and Cuba have a natural tie in music and in baseball and in cigars. Those 3
Beautiful.
things, they're still there. And so maybe one day we'll get another team to go. I think Cuba wants a team that's capable of playing like the 87, 88 Cuban Pan American champs.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe one day we'll get a team from here to go from Tampa. There's enough players in Tampa
Oh,
that
yeah.
play
Oh,
pro
yeah.
ball
Yes.
Oh,
that
yeah.
can still go to Cuba and play
Yeah.
and win.
I'd love to
Yeah.
go.
And
Yeah.
don't you know
blast.
that would make wonderful national press? I think
Oh, yeah.
ESPN would be all over that.
Yeah.
There's a documentary waiting to happen. Stevie, were there any calls that you
Pictures?
were going to take
Well,
tonight? I know
basically,
we've got some pictures.
Little spoiler alert, there's a call waiting, that's Hugh Perrette. Now,
Okay.
he did want to touch on the baseball question, which
Charlie
pretty
just
much
addressed.
answered that, but he did have a comment he wanted to make real quick as well. So
Okay.
maybe we have a second, we'll bring Hugh on.
And we also had another caller on the line. Did we lose that
No, I
caller?
think that's the same caller. I think we only, just,
Yeah.
yeah, Hugh
All right, here we
Perrette.
go. Caller, you're on the air. We know this is Hugh Perrette, so go ahead and address your question to Charlie Miranda.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to make a comment. I'm 63 years old, lived here all my life, and for my money, Charlie Miranda is a quintessential public servant. As far as I'm concerned, he's never voted with any agenda in mind other than his own conscience and what he thinks will benefit his constituency. And that's my opinion of Charlie.
And that
Very
bell
nice,
ring is
That's
for
for the
you.
winner.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
That's
you.
one hell of an endorsement right there. You running his campaign? Because I understand Charlie's going to take a run at the governor's mansion.
No, I don't always agree with his politics, mind you, but I know the man is honest to a fault, and he's voting for what he perceives as benefiting the people at any given time.
That's what counts.
What a nice call. Thank you,
And
Hugh.
we're very fortunate to have him on the show with us. And Charlie, I have a sneaky suspicion will be a return guest as well. Thank you, Hugh. Thanks for
Thanks,
your
Hugh.
call.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure, and don't forget your Bolita number.
All right, number 23.
23.
And Charlie, I don't know how much you've touched on this because I'm in another room where I can't hear the TV for the last few minutes while I've been on the phone. But could you tell us something about your Cuba trip, the early Cuba trip with the baseball with Tony La Russa and all that?
I think when you get back to watching the replay of
Yeah.
this,
Uh-huh.
you'll be pleasantly surprised because while you were on hold, Charlie went into infinitesimal detail
Yeah.
about that,
He did.
which was great because, listen, I mean, we need to know these things. And I think when you see the replay, you'll be pleasantly surprised. It was all
Yes.
right there.
Great. Well,
Great
it's an
stories.
honor to see you, Charlie, and to speak with you. And as always, the show is great.
Thanks
you,
for
Hugh.
calling, Hugh.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank
We
you now.
appreciate
Bye-bye.
you.
Hugh is one of our big fans. He coined the phrase, the Tampa Native Show. It's like ice cream.
That's a good analogy.
And who doesn't like ice cream?
Hey, we have time for a couple of emails here, too.
Yep, please.
And Bolita numbers
And look
as
at,
well.
look at the
Okay.
time, Charlie. Look at the time. It's already 20 minutes till. Gosh.
You know how, instead
Where's
of
it
a first-
going?
Instead of a first-time caller, we have a first-time emailer.
Oh, there's
And
the first
that
time
is-
emailer.
Yeah, 2 Bolita entries. New viewer, Dale Kimball.
Dale Kimball, that's for you,
And
Dale.
what's the
Thanks.
number?
You can call us
Number-
next week and we can hear your voice over the phone. And next week, show us, of course, our Valentine's Day special. Stevie,
Absolutely. 56, number 56.
56 for Dale.
56 for
Jim
Dale.
Carney, 44. We
Jim
are watching
Carney,
the show
44.
together. Watching the show together and enjoying Charlie's stories.
Great.
What was the number?
44.
44 for Jim Carney.
44. Oh, yeah, okay, Jim.
And Angelo Ramori, he sent us an
Well,
email
last
too.
names?
Charlie and I go back to 1970 when we were in the with the West Tampa Sharia Association.
Sharifa?
He has been a dear friend and a great public servant. I drove Charlie in the convertible in the last year's Santiago parade, and you could feel the love from the people of Tampa as we drove through.
Great.
A couple of people threw tomatoes, but I think they were aimed at me. Thank you for your service, my friend.
Does
No,
he
he
have a
drove
number?
a real nice-looking antique Mustang, and the tomatoes were because I was hungry as hell.
And you know, Charlie, we're going to be on the back of that vehicle this Saturday, the same
Great
one.
guy and a great car.
Yeah, no, it's good. We
That's
can't
great.
wait.
And he's
It's going
a
to be a lot of
great
fun.
guy.
And
Thank
Angelo,
you for that.
Send in your Bolita number if you have time. Thanks.
Charlie, I got a
Great.
question here for you. This comes from the mind of only me in here, and it is, what led you to politics? Now, Stevie and I were talking about this before you came with us to be on the show tonight, and we thought it had everything to do with the horse sense of the man and the horse trading that kind of gave you the background. What led you to politics?
Well, you know, you're in that era, and it's changed a lot. This is, I'm talking from the 70 to now, you're looking at a long time.
Sure.
And like the old saying is, a lot of water is going under the bridge. It was very difficult in 1970 to get elected as a Hispanic or to get elected as a black. I'm going to be very sincere, very upfront. Those things have changed. The barriers have been broken by many, and we've been accepted into society, into the mainstream. But I don't blame anything. I never said I ever lost an election. I never have lost an election. I just never got enough votes, because it's not all about winning. If you go in a race, you really learn more when you lose a race than when you win the race. You only win because that's the only way you can serve, is by getting more votes.
Right.
So, you know, psychologically, I put those things behind me. I don't never get upset with anybody who runs for office in the same race I'm in. I don't consider them opponents. I consider them applications to the same thing that I'm applying for, but the only way you can do is by getting more votes.
There you go.
I look at it differently, because at the end of the day, and the other day I spoke at Dr. Jack Lamb's Outstanding Citizens
West
of
Tampa
West
Chamber?
Tampa.
Sure.
And I think you were there, the George Guida Award. And I said to him, you have joined an elite company of Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and I went on and on, George Bush, Dick Greco, Rose Ferlita, Bob Buckhorn, Charlie Miranda, and I went on and on and on for about 50 people I named. And I don't have that much time on the show to do it. And I said, you know what this means? And he looked at me like, no. I said, all the names that I just mentioned didn't get enough votes for some election in their time. People forget that Obama lost for Congress in Illinois. People forget that Bill Clinton lost in Arkansas for, I believe, was Attorney General. And they all come back. And if you really want to serve, you're never defeated. You're just forgotten for a few times, and then you get elected. And I've had the opportunity to not get enough votes in a few races, and I've had the opportunity to be able to serve. But I never won an election, and I never lost an election. I sometimes got more votes, and others I didn't get enough votes. And I've enjoyed the ride. The people have been very nice in this area. And, you know, I look at it coming from the housing projects to where I'm at, and I ask myself a lot, quite often, how'd you get here? I don't have one answer. I presented what I thought was the best thing I could do to get myself in order to serve, and I treated myself in an area where few go into. More people should seek office so that they understand and realize what politics is really about.
Right.
You know, I was losing the election that I won in '74, and I was going to take a shower about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I said, who cares about this election? When I said that, a light bulb went out, and it came buzzing into my ear. What do you mean, who cares? And I wrote one commercial that I believe got me elected, because 2 weeks before the election, they weren't calling me Charlie Miranda. They were calling me, who cares? And I knew then I resonated with the audience, and I was going to get elected. And the commercial that I wrote was this: who cares if there's a pothole in your city street? Miranda cares. Who cares if your electric bill is higher than your rent? Miranda cares. I need your help and your vote to make your voice heard at City Hall. Vote Miranda. That was a total commercial. That came based on my good friend Nick Nuncio's black box. When he came back and won the mayor's race, when they kept pulling things out of the black box, and they tease you all week long in the media about this is coming out, look at the black box on TV. There was only one TV station then, and I think it was Channel 38 in St. Pete. And they would bring up something that was in the paper about his opponent. And you know what? The man won election.
Wow.
That was the first TV commercial I remember in politics in all of my life. So these things, and then Ted Kennedy and Jack Kennedy and the Kennedys all were masters of the media. And that's how they all got elected. And they did a fine job. So you learn things as you go along. And, you know, that's how life is. I think that the people that I've all served with, not one of them that I had the opportunity and the honor to serve with ever did it for themselves. They did it because they want to give something back to the community. All of us. I don't care if them and I got along or not.
Right.
I respected them. They got elected just like I did.
Sure.
And that's my philosophy in life.
It's a very selfless profession if you do it right. It's a very selfless profession if you do it the way it's supposed to be
Great
done.
philosophy, too.
I have to interrupt everyone right now because we are at that special time known as the 15-minute mark.
Uh-oh.
And I'd like to give a special shout out to Ray Villadonga's great radio show on WMNF.
Look right into that camera and give that shout out,
WMNF called Step Outside. I had the joy of listening to it last night. I had my own little party in my house all by myself.
Party of one.
I was dancing, I was singing. So Step Outside with Ray Villadonga on WMNF.
Wednesday nights?
You'll enjoy it. Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock.
At 9 o'clock.
Great musician.
Great.
That's for Ray.
Yes, he is a great
15-minute girl. That's how she got her name, because every time, this time of the week, 15 minutes to go, she's there to remind us, boys, you got to wrap it up. You got 15 minutes to go. That was a great answer, because it's always, for me, it's always very interesting to find out what drives people into politics. People go into it for different reasons.
Yeah.
Charlie obviously did it for the right reasons, to see if what he could do in there to help the people from the community that gave him so much to get him to where he was. Doesn't hurt that he's a multifaceted guy with a lot of interesting stories to tell, and feet firmly on the ground, raised by people that obviously put that heart in that chest. So good on you, Charlie. And we, like I said, we're tickled to have you on the show.
You have to come back.
No, don't get me wrong. I want to have also some of your colleagues to come in as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to reach out to Councilman Riddick to see if he'll come in, because quite honestly, we want his story. We want the African American experience here recorded for posterity. But I thought it would be a prudent thing to go and get the chairman first, before I went and got one of the council
Oh,
members.
you could have got the council member.
And I knew that was the case, Charlie, but we wanted to bring you in first to
Yeah,
be
it
sure.
started off
So
right.
we can put all controversy down and bed this down for all time. There is no association between Charlie Miranda and Miranda's deviled crabs.
Or the
I know
Miranda
that-
warning.
Or the Miranda rights. Yeah, because we were thinking
Miranda
about that
rights,
earlier.
that's right.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
thinking about that earlier, but we just want to make sure that everybody knows the Miranda name is very well known here in Tampa, but that's a different Miranda family.
You know,
But
I
in
have to say-
fact, there is two Mirandas that win the Supreme Court.
Oh,
Really?
Okay.
The one from Arizona, which is the one you're talking about,
The Miranda
and the
rights.
one you're looking at now. That happened in 1972 when I was going to run for office, and I went to give him a check, and the gentleman was a very nice guy. He tells me, well, I'm glad you have the money. If not, you couldn't run. I said, tell me that again. And he did. I said, let me have the check back. And I got the check, and I tore it in half. I put it in my pocket, and I said, now can I run for office? He said, no. That's what started a chain of events that got the people able to qualify to run without money, and they can sign petitions and get
Wow.
on the ballot. A lot of people don't know that.
No,
great.
no, and
But
That's
it was
a
I who
great
did
thing.
that. I and the people who helped me to change that law. We won here. It was appealed to the appeals court. We won there, and the state of Florida, in their ultimate wisdom, took it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court justice says, we don't want to hear it. He wins.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
Good on you.
Well, 6 minutes to go. They're whispering in our ears. Stevie,
You know
go
what?
ahead. Go ahead,
Well,
Stevie.
I think-
Don't.
I think that Charlie's philosophy on winning and losing that he just
Yeah, that's very,
described,
Yep.
very.
that may very well be the
Meaningful.
highlight also.
Yeah, I
Or
think-
it might be a close
yeah.
runner-up. I don't know, but that was very inspirational, by the way, Charlie.
Well, it's a philosophy that a lot of coaches try to instill in their athletes, in particular the game of baseball, which is so near and dear
Right.
to all of us here in Tampa. And Charlie's, experience in Cuba, and it goes all the way back to when he was a child. Baseball, a good baseball coach, because baseball is designed by its very nature to break your heart. Isn't that right, Charlie? I mean, if you're a 300 hitter in the major leagues, you're going to make a lot of money, you're going to be very successful, probably end up in the Hall of Fame. But that also means that 7 times out of 10 you're failing. So you've got to be able to handle those defeats in baseball. That's a big thing. What do they tell you? What does a good coach worth his salt tell you? He says, in baseball you've got to keep your highs low and your lows high. And I think that's what you were alluding to.
Let me say this.
Please.
There's another thing that the coach taught us when we were growing up. And I admire him not only for what he did for all of us, and he had over 400 kids at one park. He told me this one day: you can make an error, but you can't make a mistake. Now, as a young boy, what does that mean? It wasn't until later on in life, I wouldn't ask anybody, I didn't know what it meant. And means an error, you make something when you're trying to get something accomplished and the ball hits the heel of the glove and you can't make it. That's an error, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
A mistake is when you're playing the outfield, let's say, and you go after a fly ball and you catch it, and you think there's 2 outs and there's
Yeah,
only
you throw it
1
to-
out, and there's
yeah.
a guy on third base that you look at him and he's running home and you say, what a fool. The fool was you,
Yeah.
because you forgot that there was only 1 out, not 2.
Yeah.
And that happened to some of us, and we were in the bench for a long time.
That's a great way to
That's
define
your
that,
mental
those terms.
mistake. Don't make a mental mistake. Do we have all of our Bolita numbers?
I believe we
Did
do.
we carry all of our announcements, darling? Did you? And
Well,
we'll-
I wanted to just say,
Real quick?
real quick, today was the start of the 109th Florida State Fair, and they're going to be celebrating the 500th anniversary of Ponce de Leon arriving in Florida.
And where did he arrive? Does anybody know? Charlie.
Oh, I was there.
There he is. I believe that landing took place at somewhere
St.
around St.
Augustine,
Augustine, and I believe that landing predates everything that happened up there in
Yeah.
Jamestown. Is that not correct, Charlie?
The Fountain
For
of
those
Youth.
of you that are history buffs, the Fountain of Youth. The Fountain of Youth is sitting right here next to us, man. This guy's just going to keep going like the Energizer Bunny. Tonight's Bolita drawing winner will win a copy of I Remember Tampa, that wonderful
Great
song that is
song.
our theme song, written by, with love and affection, Mike Baluja, and also one of our shopping bags, Tampa Native Show shopping bags. So you know the drill. The CD goes in the bag goes to you. Jim Carney, we're going to swing by tomorrow at the office at the apartment complex
right.
and drop yours off. And who knows, you might win again, Jim. It happens so
He's-
often.
he's lucky.
Charlie, will you do the honors? We don't throw it at you like they,
Right.
like originally. We'll just ask you to reach in
Quickly,
there and
dear.
grab. You know what? 3 minutes. I know.
Okay,
I'm
you
listening.
hear it
I'm
too.
listening. Charlie, get in there and pick you a good one. And the winner is. All right, baby. Closest to. without going over. The number is,
Without dropping the
easy for me to say.
10.
Yeah, number 10.
That's Tony La Russa's number.
Okay, that would
It was
be,
Tony La Russa's number. How about that?
that would be Keitha.
Good memory. Keitha Beanie.
Keitha Beanie, number
Beanie.
7. There you
You
go.
won again,
Congratulations.
Keitha?
Wonderful, wonderful,
They're not
wonderful.
watching right now, though.
Charlie, we got about two and a half minutes to go. The hour, as it always does here on the Tampa Native Show,
Flies.
in a wisp. It evaporated on us. We want to say again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for all of your public service.
Thank you.
Thanks for being a friend to all of us, first and foremost, because the name Charlie Miranda is synonymous with all things Tampa, and that's what we're trying to do here. So we're going to bring you back if we can have you back.
I love to come back, and I look at your show, and I see what you're trying to do, and to put into memory what has come way before and we may
Right.
lose. This reminds me of how the doo-wops and the show started, and how they continue without all the famous singers and so forth that now we have a chance to watch, even though some of them are no longer with us.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it's a wonderful thing what you folks are doing. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
We're going to
That means
dedicate.
a lot.
We're going to
That's a lot
dedicate
to
some
us.
upcoming shows to the musicians and those wonderful musicians, Rodney Justo, Onelio Ochoa, Roy Garcia, and all those wonderful musicians that came out of Tampa.
Rodney, Rodney went to Cuba with that team.
Did
he
he?
really?
With a team that
wow.
went in 11.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Well,
He's
we just
great.
met Rodney for
Yeah,
the first
he's
time.
great.
He's an amazing character
Yeah, man.
and a Tampa native. So
Yeah.
we're on our way.
So
We've-
much talent.
He's played all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I didn't know that.
Atlanta Rhythm section,
Yeah.
So let's just say this: so many questions, so little time, and we feel like it's our duty to
Yeah.
continue to do all these wonderful things that we're doing, and we're going to
So many
continue to do that.
stories.
Let's promote next week's show real quick. Next week is our Valentine's Day special. Be on the lookout for that. And on the 21st, the week after, we're privileged to have with us Andy Johnson, who recently retired from
That'll be fun.
Fox 13. Before that, he was with Big 13, and he also is a Tampa native with a very fascinating story
Yeah.
to tell.
And send in your Valentine photos as well. To
Please,
show
send
at
those in.
tampanatives.com.
Thank you,
Show
Stevie.
at
And if you don't
tampanatives.com.
have any, take some.
All right.
There you go. Good point.
So, glasses, everybody, glasses,
Shall we toast?
everybody.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
we're going to toast for sure. Let me just say that it's been a privilege to have Charlie with us. He'll be back. We're going to talk more things about horse racing. And Charlie, we're going to meet him up there at Tampa Bay Downs
That's
one
gonna be fun.
afternoon. And if
Can't
you're
wait.
free on the 12th, Charlie, join us at the Tropicana Field. On behalf of Eric Cups, our technical director extraordinaire who drove in on the fly to be with us tonight. Hello, Dory. Charlie Miranda, Tampa Steve, I'm Mario Nunez. Salute and happy days.
and happy
days.
days.
We love you, 50 minutes.
Back when we were younger and everything seemed new, we used to have a lot of fun, yes we did, no matter what we do. Sleepy days, long summer nights, going anywhere we please, with love that I could call my own, love that I've always known, the city that I call my home, a home from which I never roam. This love affair was meant to be. I love her and she loves me. I remember Tampa, oh, she remembers me. She remembers me. I remember, yeah, yes I do. Oh, oh, I remember, yeah, me and you. I'm a Tampa native, Tampa native, can't you see? I will share my story with you to preserve its history.
All right now, don't forget, Thursdays, 7 p.m. on TBCN, home of the Tampa Native Show.